In this video, we're going to see how we can test downloads using Selenium WebDriver. We're going to test the process of going to a page. You click on a button. When you click on a button, something is supposed to download, a file is supposed to download, and we're going to download that file and actually confirm the content of that file. This is something we often do in testing and QA automation, and this is going to be a Python Selenium practice for you guys. So I'm going to provide the code. I'm going to put a link to GitHub in the description, and if you want to follow along, feel free to do so. It's going to be a quick and short one. If you're new to this channel, my name is Kung Fu, and I create courses and tutorials for QA automation. For anybody trying to get into testing, QA automation, I have content all related to that. So if you like this video, consider subscribing to my channel. Like this video, that would really help out with the algorithm and everything else. So let's jump right into it. So I have few files prepared. So on the link, the GitHub link I'm going to send, you're going to have those. And I'm going to create the new file, the actual Python file. Those are the files that we're going to use for the script. I'll explain shortly. So I'm going to call it Selenium test download.py. I can just do that. So we're going to write a basic Selenium script. So what it's going to do is, instead of for this demo, instead of going to some website and click on a download, I have an HTML file that we can just go to it locally, right? So I'm going to get the paths. I'm going to open a browser. This is a page actually. I can just go there and you can see it. And when you click on a button, it downloads a file. You click OK. And in Selenium, we're not going to get that dialog. Okay, so let's get to the script and let's start writing a very basic Selenium script to begin with. So I'm going to say from Selenium import WebDriver, and I'm going to say driver is WebDriver.chrome. So I'm going to do this in Chrome, but the process is very similar with other browsers. I'm going to driver.get. So we're going to get this HTML file, but if we put in the paths, it's not going to work. So I'm just going to copy paths. I put that in there. I'm going to run it. I have my virtual environment here. I'm going to do Python 3 Selenium test download, and it opens the browser, but it crashes because it's saying invalid argument. You can't just open a file like this. You have to put in file : / and if I run that now, we shouldn't see any error. It actually finished. Okay, that's how it is. Another thing to note is this is in general. I see people make this mistake a lot. In general, first of all, you don't want to put in hard code a file like this. You also don't want to put a file like that. This probably would have worked, but you don't want to do that because it's relative. Now we're actually executing the script from this folder. But if you do this and you execute the folder from the file from a root or from any other directory, this will not work because you won't find it. So you always want to find a relative path to this current folder. So let's actually set it up here. I'm going to say current file path. So this will give us the path of this actual file that's been executed, because this file, the data or the HTML file, is relative. It's always going to be the same location relative to this file. So you want to get a relative directory. So no matter how you execute the file, is always in the same file. Those two, the relationship will always be the same unless you manually go and change the location of the script. So for that, I'm going to use this code here, and I'm going to import OS, import OS. So OS, this is just, if you Google it, you always find it. If you want to know where is the current location of the current file, this is how you do it. Then I'm going to do my HTML file is going to be, again, index.html, right? And I want to make it universal, so I'm going to use a path, os.paths.join. I'm going to say the current file and index.html. Again, this will make sure it works on every platform, because on Windows you have slash, on a Mac you have backslash, or vice versa. So if I actually just create a string with the slash in it, then it won't work on one of the platforms. If you do it this way, it would automatically create the full paths based on the platform it's on, right? Then we have to add this file here, but we can do it here. So we have the HTML file. We're going to just do it right there. And that's where we want to go to, right? The string concatenation. So if we put a breakpoint, so the browser doesn't kill itself all the time, right? If you guys know, the last, I would say, a year or so, Chrome, when it opens, when the script finishes, it will close itself. Even though you don't have a quit or a close in there, it would automatically close. To avoid that, this is a trick I always use. Put a breakpoint all the way at the end. Then the browser will stay open. There you go. This is the browser open, right? Now we need to actually click on the button. So let me import the by class, and I'm going to say driver.find element by ID, because I know my HTML has ID, and the button has main download ID. Okay. Now, and then I can just click it, find it, and click it, just in one line. Okay. So let me just show you. Actually, this is going to download it into some temporary location, which we don't even know where it is. So if I hit continue here and run it to run the whole thing again, it did not like something. Let me see, by ID main download find element. Yeah, that's oh, I didn't say go. This has to be after getting the URL, right? That was a rookie mistake right there. All right, so we can see it just downloaded it. And if we want to see where it is, I'm going to open this. I'm going to click on this folder thing, so it will open. I was hoping it would open it. Earlier it was, but it's some random temp directory. We don't know where it is. So the whole key to this is to specify where it's going to be downloaded. So we're going to create a temporary file and download it into that temporary file. That's really the key. So I'm going to say import temp file. So I'm going to use Python's temp file. I'm going to say temp download directory is going to be temp file dot, what is it? Make the temp. Okay, this guy will create a temporary directory. There are other ways to create a temporary directory. There's other ones that automatically clean themselves, but in this case, I want to just keep it simple, and we're going to create this temporary directory. Okay. Another thing is, once we do that, we're going to pass in options to Chrome driver. So here I'm going to come here and I'm going to say Chrome options is going to be options. Then I'm going to say Chrome options dot add experimental option. In fact, why don't I just copy it from my node so you don't have to watch me type the whole thing. This is the key. Basically, this is how you control it. Now we're telling our Chrome instance where is a default place to download the files. Whatever it's going to download is going to download into this directory which we give it, and that is this temp download file, temp download directory. So it's going to download it there. Now we're going to have to pass it into the object here. We're going to do options is Chrome options. Now it's going to download it there. So we can run the script to make sure everything is okay so far. The script run, we just saw it downloading, but we don't see where it's downloading it through here. And we just know it downloaded. So what we can do is we can actually check the directory, right? We can list the directory here. We can just quickly, we can say, we can do print os.listdir, something like that. There you go. And what directory we want to list? Our temp directory. All right, right at the end. Let's run the script. We're going to print out the content of the directory right there, right? It printed a list. It printed this guy here, right? What is this? That's not the file name we are expecting, because this goes so fast. It's printing it before it finished downloading, right? Later on, I can show you downloading a large file. That way you can see it stays this way for a long time. But if we add a while loop, I can say, let's wait for the download to finish, right? So we're going to use a while loop for it to finish downloading, right? That's you always want to do that. When you click on something, it's going to download, and you want to wait for it to finish. Then you can validate. First of all, it finished. Second of all, the content, right? So we're going to use a while loop, and we're going to wait for it. We're going to kind of estimate what is the maximum we want to wait. So I can say max wait. Max wait is, let's say, 10 seconds. Okay, this is in seconds. Then we're going to say timeout is going to be time.time plus max wait. Okay, so we got to import time. That's how we're going to create the timestamp. Import time. Okay, so the timeout is now whatever the current time is plus maximum. So it's going to time out at that. So we're going to write a while loop. We're going to say while time is less than timeout, right? That's why I normally deal with, when I want to wait for something to happen, I always use this snippet here. While time, every time it checks the time, as long as it's below timeout, just keep going, right? Then we can say actually print, we can just put this inside, right? We can print the directory, but then in that case, this is going to be, this is going to go for 10 seconds. Let's put like 3 seconds and let's run it, see what happens. We don't want to run it for 10 seconds, right? So it's going to run for 3 seconds. And every time it's printed, it printed actually a lot. In 3 seconds, it printed so many times because it makes sense. So that's not really what we want to do. We want to actually check if the file is there or not, right? So we know what the file name should be ahead of time. When you're writing your test, you should know what the file name should be ahead of time. So we're going to just hard code that expected file name, right? Before the test, we know it's going to be data.csv. So now in the while loop, we're going to check if a file exists. Okay, we're going to check. So we're going to say if os dot, what is the code to check if a file exists? I have it right here. We can say os dot pass dot is file. We can just check is file, right? And the file name we are expecting. So we're going to expect the pass temp directory, right? So then instead of, we have, let's see, we have the temp directory, the expected file. Then we're going to say expected path is going to be os.path.join. We're going to do the temp dir and the expected file name. Now we're going to see if this file, the whole path, actually exists. Okay, if this file exists, then basically we can read that file if we want to, right? Or let's read that file. We can say with open expected path. We're going to open it for reading as f. We want to say content is equal to f.read. Okay. Else, now in the else case, let's actually print it, or we can even just print it here. Actually, the print, we can put it up here. Else, we're gonna time that sleep like half a second and try again, right? And then continue. And then once once we read the file, we actually want to exit, right? So we're gonna just break the loop. Okay, hopefully you guys are able to follow that. I'm gonna continue this, hit run. Let's see, file time that sleep has time has no attribute sleep. Oh, I missed the P. Let's run that again. There you go. So right, so the loop went twice. The file downloads so fast. The first time it looks like this. The second time it's finished downloading. So you want to check if it's finished downloading. Then basically all we have to do is read the content. So we have to hard code the content because we have to know what the content looks like. But we can open the original content here. So first we can say original content. Normally, if you're writing a real test, you don't know what the original content is. You can't get it in real time. You actually have to hard code it into your test. In this case, we already know what the file is, so we can just open it. So the original content, I'm just going to say with open. So I want to open this file here, right? So that file is basically the current file path. Just going to say with open os.path.join and data.csv. We want to open it for reading. Again, for reading as f, and I'm going to say original content is f.read. Now I can just assert. I can say assert original content is the same as let me give this a name, downloaded content. Right, that's pretty much it. So let's see if we hit the breakpoint, that means we're successful. We were able to download the file and compare. We hit the breakpoint, so we can just say pass or something like that, print pass. Okay, so This video is actually turning out to be longer than I thought because I'm explaining a lot of other related terms and we're doing some fancy stuff too. So let's just do a quick recap of what we did. Basically, we set some variables, we figured out, we created a temporary directory. And why do we use a temporary directory? That's the key. That's the whole thing. The way you're going to test downloads is when you create the Selenium, the driver, actually the browser object, you specify where the default download is. Once you specify that folder, you know what that folder is. After you download, you go read that folder. You try to get the file from that folder. If you don't know what the file name is going to be, you're just going to get everything in that folder. And usually, since you just created the folder, there should only be one file in there. You just get that file, read it, and assume that is the content and compare it with the content. Sometimes you want to check the content. See you just want to check that it exists. Let's say it's downloading a video, right? Maybe you don't want to check the content of the video. You can just change the file. The size. Make sure it didn't just download an empty file. If it's a video file, it should be a certain amount of megabytes or kilobytes or whatever the size is. You can check for that. You can check for a bunch of other things other than just opening the file. That's what we did here. A lot of this is related to paths, just figuring out what the file should be, where the directory should be. But the key is right here, creating an option and adding an experimental option to the Chrome options, and everything else is just normal Python stuff, nothing fancy there. And putting a while loop and checking if the file actually gets downloaded. If we download a big file, this large file here, so this I wrote this Python file. Actually, I have ChatGPT write this Python file that will create this large file. So we can change this actually to large file. So you can see that it actually takes time. So I'm going to run the script. I just changed the HTML. So the file, you see that it's taken a long time to run, and obviously it's going to fail because the content in my script, I'm comparing it to a different content. But you can see while it's downloading, the file name looks different. While it's downloading, as soon as it finished downloading, the file name existed, and the while loop basically stopped. Okay, that's all I got for you, and this is how you test downloads with Selenium.